Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Thursday, the 9th of June. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined, as ever, by Joshua Barrie. How are we doing, Joshua?
Good, Derek. Nice to have some talent on today so that everyone can get a break from our, what shall we call, pre-season chat.
Yeah, it's very much the close season. As you can see down below, we've got a special guest on this morning, tactics writer Adam Thornton. How are we getting on, Adam?
Not bad, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, but it's great to have you on. A new fresh face is always good to see.
I'm not sure I'm looking very fresh in the morning, but it's a new face at least.
And before we talk all things Rangers, folks, just a bit of housekeeping. As ever, you can see the little ticker below you. We've got that great offer on the website just now. It's a free 30-day trial to see if you like it. Of course, just £2.99 per month thereafter. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details, and the link is in the description and the comment section as well. So hit that and you can find out how to sign up. And as you can also see, the One Football app is our Rangers Review sponsor. It's your one-stop shop for all your footballing needs. You can keep up to date with all the latest goings-on from Ibrox. There's loads of Rangers Review content on there. You get notifications also to your phone. The good news is it's absolutely free, so it won't cost you a penny, and you can download it for iPhone and Android users. You can not only just keep up to date with Rangers goings-on, but also Scottish football, fixture lists, result lists, also news from down south, as you can see there, and further afield across the pond in the continent also. So that's it. One Football app, folks. So many of you now downloading it and hearing great stuff. So that's where you go to wherever you get your apps and get that downloaded. Okay, folks, let's talk all things Rangers. Of course, that's why we're here. Josh, we'll just touch on the Josh Tymon that we spoke about yesterday. I'm led to believe there's nothing in that at the moment. I think it's going to be interesting to hear the amount of players linked with Rangers that doesn't actually materialise, that they like to keep the news in-house. And this appears to be another one. It's just the rumour mill's obviously rife, but it doesn't look like happening as far as I'm led to believe. The club apparently not looking for a left back at the moment. Can you understand that?
Yeah, and I guess the thing is the club will watch so many players, and that doesn't always mean concrete interest. I guess there's probably different levels of interest. Presumably there'll be players that Rangers would have within their kind of database that they are interested in, and they will sign if said player goes, if said money comes in. So I'd imagine it's all very fluid. But with the left back situation at the moment, as we've discussed a few times, Derek, and it'll be interesting to see what Adam thinks on this, but you've got a player there in Borna Barisic who, when he is at his best, and you see him playing for Croatia against France the other night, he's very good, and the kind of he's worth more than the $2 million that Watford bid for him, I think, back in January. But obviously, as we know, he's got those inconsistencies, so it's probably a bit of a difficult position to kind of replace. And I guess Rangers wouldn't want to maybe sell someone like Barisic for well below what he can be worth, especially when he's still got a good few years probably left in him. So yeah, I can understand that the club probably aren't looking there at the moment, but as I say, I'd imagine all these positions are very fluid, and when Rangers I've watched a player, I'd imagine they've watched thousands of players, so it's hard to probably distinguish what's genuine interest and what's kind of just scouting about.
Yeah, you get a big fan on the show this morning, Adam. Fraser Ritchie says heart and hand royalty. So there you go. What was your thinking on the left back situation, Adam? Do you think it's an area of the pitch that Rangers need to strengthen in the summer?
Not right now, I guess. But if Bassey goes, then I would say possibly. Just to give a bit of backup, Barisic is a weird one, isn't it? I think you speak to people not a majority, but certainly a decent chunk would be quite happy if he went. I think they'd be quite happy if we sell him and we get some money and move on. But then you think he's the Croatia left back. He's playing against France and doesn't look out of place. It's a weird kind of Rangers thing where I think, as Josh said, when he's on form, he can be brilliant. However, there are times where he can be quite one-dimensional, I think, in terms of how he attacks. And obviously he seems to have these bouts of confidence crises once a season, twice a season sometimes. So if in an ideal world you're thinking, could we replace Barisic with someone who's 5, 6, 7 years younger, make a bit of money on Barisic and reinvest that, then possibly you would. But I don't think it's a huge priority. If Bassey goes, then yeah, because we only have one left back. I've seen James Maxwell's gone as well, so we pretty much only have one there that we could even bring into the team. So yes, if Bassey goes, if not, and funds are going to be tight, I don't think left back is a huge priority. I think further forward would be the ones for me.
Yeah, CGM 55 sort of sums it up. He says left back is a priority. If Bassey leaves, we can't afford to mess around. We need to either sell him or get him a new deal. Where do you stand on Bassey, Adam? Do you think he's a priority for Ross Wilson to sit down and get him signed up on a new improved deal? And can you see him lining up for Rangers next season? I know there's the sort of interest seems to have died down a little bit. It was sort of fever pitch in the last couple of weeks. What was your gut feeling on Bassey?
I think head ruling heart. So if you think from the head, he probably needs to go because his stock is it's unrealistic to be much higher than it has been. I get that it's died down, but I wonder if that's just the kind of post-Europa buzz moving into most people being off on holiday. So I would certainly expect bids to be coming in, and I don't think Rangers should be entertaining anything under 25 million. Absolutely not. But if that figure gets hit with a sell on, then I think he needs to go from a financial point of view, and we reinvest that money back into the team. That might be where we see a rebuild coming, in the sense that we can maybe improve on a couple of other positions. So my heart would say he's only had 6 months. I'd like to see him again for another 12 months or so, maybe sign a year's extension and then look to go next summer. But my head is saying it's very unlikely he'll get hotter than he is right now, even if he has the same kind of season. I'm not sure there's going to be much more money we can get out of clubs, more than kind of 25, 30 million for him. So I would be looking at it from a cold-hearted point of view and saying I would be selling him if a bit of that value comes in and reinvest it elsewhere, which is a shame because I do like him. He offers us that flexibility that he can play left wing back, left centre back in a 3 as well, which is really, really useful. But I don't think we can turn down that type of money. Yeah.
Adam touches on James Maxwell. Joshua, of course, he left the club. He posted a nice message. Johnny was certainly a fanboy of his, and he really liked watching him play. Were you surprised to see him go? I guess it's just one of those when young players coming through, they reach a point and you can't keep them forever. They have to leave at some point and go and get game time.
And I guess not many young players make it. That's why it's such a big deal when one of them does come into the first team. So not overly surprised. Just on Bassey as well, I think it's a good point Adam makes that I think the only way Bassey becomes hotter, so to speak, is if Rangers get into the Champions League. Bassey has 3-4 really good performances. But even then, it's hard to, I think, have more exposure than he did in the Europa League final. And have such a rise like he did over the last 6 months. And speaking about the left back position, in my mind, I think Bassey would probably play a lot centrally next season as well. So that's why maybe the rotation between Barisic and Bassey would work quite well if Bassey stayed, because Barisic, you think back to you remember the game behind closed doors, the St Mirren game, 2-0, when Barisic put that cross in for Morelos at the back post, and it was just after Van Bronckhorst had come in and he was playing a few different roles, kind of tucking inside at points, and he was brilliant. After the new year, obviously, as we know, he wasn't. I think he's such a system player, so influenced by if he's got, Kent ahead of him and Kamara inside and he knows where to play the ball, he can be so good. But if he's isolated, if he's, as Adam says, sometimes a little bit one-dimensional, and we were speaking yesterday, Derek, about his kind of inability to come inside the pitch sometimes and be quite easy to press. And I think that certainly in a couple of the Old Firm games last season was quite evident. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I agree, if Bassey was to go for 25 million this summer, I think that would be a deal that suits all parties. Because at the end of the day, sentimentality aside, it's a business. And if you buy someone for 300,000 or less than that compensation fee, 2 years later, you can sell them for 25 million. It's a pretty good bid, and I think clubs will know that they don't have to pay too much more to get someone away from the Scottish Premiership, as kind of cold as that is.
I guess we also don't know, like, kind of play style wise as well, Josh. We were talking off air if he maybe wants to move to a 3 at the back more often. It could have Barisic as left centre back, but then we've seen a couple of times, not often, but we've seen a couple of times maybe Ryan Kent playing his left wing back for a few minutes in certain games. Maybe Sakala going out there as well in these type of games, like at home to some of the bottom six. Maybe things like that. Barisic can get a rest. Bassey can play left centre back. These type of things, I think, with the flexibility that the system has, and with the flexibility that Bassey has, probably gives us more options than we might think.
Yeah, Gary Gray makes a good point here. He says, I think we need to kick off the player trading model at this point. The club isn't going to get a good Euro run every year and needs alternative sources of income. This is an interesting question. Adam Scott in Berlin says, with Hadji looking to be out 4 months more, then we really need a right winger. Defence is not a problem. The right winger position has been a problem last season. With the Hadji news, doesn't look too promising, of course. Is that a priority for you, bringing in someone over on that right-hand side? For me, it is. I know Scott Wright has had some decent games out there. But that aside, I think Rangers need a genuine starter in there, a real player of real quality over on that right-hand side.
Yeah, I think that's the priority. I think for me, goals are the priority. So it kind of stands to reason. If you want to add more goals and you've got a space in the team that no one has really nailed down, then you want to get someone in that position who can score goals. I can't remember whose article it was on your site. It might have been yours, Josh, but someone who can come in on their left foot from the right-hand side to score goals, so that we've got that option of Tavernier going outside and someone cutting in on the left would be absolutely ideal. That is, for me, what we need in that position. Hadji is a strange one. I think most people know that Van Bronckhorst really, really liked him. However, he has changed. Van Bronckhorst has changed the play style a couple of times since then, so I don't think Hadji out on that right flank is something that we'll see too much. I think when he comes back, he'll probably want to play him a little bit more centrally and get back to having those two wingers as my guess on it. So with that, then even more so, I think we need someone in, because you're right, Scott Wright finished the season quite strongly. I don't like Fashion Sakala out there. I've said for a while, I think Sakala's better on the left, and even if we tried Kent on the right, I feel like that combined is kind of more of an option than the other two, and then the two of them switching over. So there are a few things he could do, but I think ultimately we need more goals in the attacking line. Realistically, we're not going to sign someone. I don't think we'll sign someone who can compete with Morelos while Morelos is still here. I just don't think that's something that we'll do. So we need to look at getting goals into other areas of the team, whether that's left or right wing or from deeper.
Yeah, there's a good comment came in actually from Rob Colley. It follows it up. Scott Wright showed enough towards the end of the season, Josh, to be given the chance next season as a starting right midfielder. Signed off, of course, with that great goal in the Scottish Cup final, and I felt he was coming on to a game. But is Scott Wright for you the man? Is he showed enough?
No, I just think that when you're talking about a starter, you can't really have that much doubt. You know, I know Kent's goal, a lot is made of Kent's goals, but if you look at you know what you're going to get from him in a performance kind of basis, the same as Morelos. You know their quality. I think you need someone, and if you're talking about that as a front three, you need someone that's going to mirror their quality in that front three area, in the way that Kemar Roofe came in the 2021 season and played that right-sided forward role so well, scored 14 goals, overperformed his expected goals by about 3.5, I think, and just made a really good contribution. I think you need a bit of variance, so a left footer out there would be good, because you have Scott Wright who can kind of stretch the pitch on that side. That said, I think Wright grew. Why I think he got better is not that. Well, it was more that he was playing a bit of a hybrid role, so he wasn't always isolated out in the right wing by the end of that season. So you remember when he first played under Van Bronckhorst, again, to go back to just before the winter break, it was always kind of, St Mirren game again is a great example. He was always the width, and there was two wingers that were high and wide, and it kind of adapted after that Old Firm defeat to be one winger high and wide with Kent, and then Arfield kind of coming inside to play a bit of a hybrid role, and then Wright eventually started to play that role, and notably in the semi-final of the Europa League and the final, where you can come inside the pitch and kind of drive and turn quite quickly, because that's, I think, what his best trait is getting the ball, turning. He turns so quickly and then being able to drive, and it means that his delivery isn't isolated, because I don't think his delivery is consistently that great, and that's why when he's out on the right wing, sometimes I don't think he has the best game if his only job is to go around the fullback and cross, because then I think he's a bit one-dimensional. So that is definitely the priority position for Rangers. and more than anything, they need to put goals in beside Morelos and Kent. I think, was it 14 league goals Morelos and Kent got between them this season? That's nowhere near enough to go and win the league. You need both of them to have better goal scoring seasons. And I know Morelos is out for a while, and certainly the signs under Van Bronckhorst is that he will have a better season. But you need someone that's going to attack the back post. You need someone that's going to be a goal threat, work well with James Tavernier. And, Amad Diallo isn't the best example because he only played in a couple of dead rubber games. But as an example, that type of movement to the back post, as he scored in his debut as well, where it's a goal threat from out there instead of someone who doesn't think like a forward. I think that's what Rangers need, and that definitely should be the priority position. It's needed address for a while. And Hadji isn't a right winger. I don't think anyone could really claim that, because he says himself he wants players ahead of him. He wants to pass the ball probably instead of always having to dribble. So please, Rangers, sign a right winger. I think that's just what we need to keep saying, isn't it?
I think the silly example, obviously, that I go back to all the time is Liverpool, and essentially what you need is someone with Salah's profile. I think is that coming in off that right hand side on your left foot, that basically every time they shift their weight on the left foot in the box is a goal. That's really what you need. I know it's easy enough to say that, but you look at Firmino, what he did for Liverpool, he was kind of similar to Morelos. He's not going to get the most goals out of that front three, but the others absolutely need to step up.
Yeah. What do you make of this, Adam? Paul Henderson makes a point. I think with the players we have, it might be a 5-3-2 lineup next season. Would you be averse to that?
We're certainly top heavy now in terms of defenders, so it's not impossible. I'm on record as saying, I think maybe this time last year and beyond, I don't like a 3-5-2 as your kind of default formation. However, with the introduction of Bassey and Lundstrom, that flexibility that they give to be able to shift between 4 positions, 3 positions in Lundstrom's case, I think really adds a new dimension to that. So I think we will see more of that in the future. My big thing about it is playing most games in Scotland, you're going to come up against 1 forward and you're going to come up against basically 8 defenders or 9 defenders. So having 3 centre backs to deal with 1 defender doesn't always make sense to me. I get the kind of ball progression aspect of it with Bassey and Suter coming in, which will be quite valuable coming from deep, but I just think having another midfielder or another attacker in these type of games is probably going to be more of a net positive. So it can be really useful. We've seen how useful it is in Europe and maybe kind of later stages of bigger games against Celtic, or if we're trying to close out a game, as we've done a few times with Lundstrom coming on. But as a kind of default, 90%, 95% of the time, I'm not sure we'll see that as the preferred, just because we want to get more goals. So I don't see that. It doesn't make logical sense to me to then add a defender in and take away an attacker.
Yeah, where do you stand on that, Joshua? I sort of agree with what Adam's saying there. 5 at the back domestically doesn't really work, does it?
Well, I mean, I guess you look at the example of someone like Chelsea, who have a very attack-minded back 3 in terms of the players that they play in there, and it's not, formations, I guess, aren't binary. You could play with a 3 at the back, and people say it's too many defensive players. But then if you're playing a 4 at the back and then a Jack and a Lundstrom in front of them, yes, it's a little bit more attack-minded, but I don't think there's all that much difference in terms of your attacking and defensive balance. The thing is, Van Bronckhorst didn't really do it last season domestically, and he had the players to do it. Even against Celtic in Old Firm games, he didn't go to a back 5. You'll remember, I don't know if you were in this press conference, either of you, but maybe it was after the Dortmund game when Van Bronckhorst was asked, maybe you that asked him, Adam, about starting with a back 5 or starting with a back 4. Yeah, and he spoke, and he said something which was probably quite revealing about effectively wanted to start aggressively, and he thought the back 4 was more aggressive than the back 5. Now, that might have been because the back 5 that he went to at halftime was low. It was protecting the space instead of the man. It wasn't an aggressive back 5 that we've seen in like the semi-final at home to Leipzig. But certainly if Van Bronckhorst was overstocked in any area towards the end of last season, when you look at players like James Sands, who wasn't playing that much, a back 3 would have definitely been viable. So find it hard to believe that you'll necessarily go to that at the start of next season, especially in domestic games. But I think in Europe, you'll probably see it quite a lot. Because it just gives that extra coverage. It allows you to play maybe with Morelos and Kent up front together. I don't see I'm not convinced effectively that Rangers are going to be going to a back five next season. But what Van Bronckhorst wants is flexibility, isn't it? That's, I think, the one thing that we can definitively draw from his time at the club so far.
That's what I was going to say. It changes so much. What we thought we knew when he came in was he wants to play a back four, two fullbacks, one will stay back, one will go forward. He'll have a number 6, a number 8, a number 10 in midfield, 2 wingers and a target man essentially. And he probably did try and start with that, albeit Hadji played wide right. I think that was maybe more out of lack of options rather than him specifically wanting to be there. But the evolution since then, you mentioned the Dortmund game, but then you look at Leipzig where he went man for man. Out the back in a back three, it's very attacking. So I think he does change as he goes, which is good, but it does mean it's difficult to kind of get a read on what you think he's going to do as a philosophy or as a game model for every single game. So I think the flexibility you mentioned is key.
And you see, just quickly on that, Derek, as well, I think it was in the Europa League final notes, his Van Bronckhorst's letter in the Europa League final, what I'm trying to say, programme.
Yep.
He made some interesting comments. I can't think off the top of my head, but if anyone else has read it, they'll know what I mean. He made some interesting comments about him adapting his style and how he'd tried to mould that a little bit compared to what he thought in the first instance, as Adam is saying. So it's an interesting discussion. What type of football is he trying to create? Does he have an ideal style or is he more reactive? I certainly think that everyone would say the reactivity within his football has been an absolute net positive and really, really helped. It was one of the key reasons that Rangers got to the Europa League final, absolutely. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next season. I certainly think the one area that there needs to be some clear improvement is moving the ball through the midfield, being a little bit less one-dimensional domestically at points. Scottish Cup final for a lot of the game, I thought Rangers looked too direct. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens. Part of me thinks Van Bronckhorst might like another little midfielder, but again, it's a stacked area. Davies, Sands, Kamara, Jack, Lundstrom. There's not really room for a sixth starter in there, is there, at the moment?
This is one thing I don't want to see, Adam. John Dooley says, do you think if we do play 3 at the back in the league, JVB might put Goldson up front for as an auxiliary striker at times? I know it worked at Dens Park, but I really don't want to see that again.
No, I think that was a wee bit of desperation as well. He tried that against, who was it, right after it? A couple of games
Old
after.
Firm, he tried it in the Old Firm for the final.
Yeah.
It just gives me PTSD from Marvin Andrews against CSK Moscow 15 years ago at Ibrox. I'm thinking, has he actually done that? Is that what we're doing? No, I think, sure, late in a game, if you've used all your subs or whatever, and that's something you want to do to get a bit of height in there, but I'm hoping it's not going to be a regular tactic that we employ now.
Yeah. Just touching on, of course, news yesterday, folks. Rangers, of course, heading to Portugal for a pre-season training camp. They'll take on Sunderland on the 9th of July. A small number of tickets will be available. It's a very small stadium, if you can call it that, in Albufeira. But good if you're over in Portugal for that. And we'll keep you updated with all that's going on as Rangers head out there. Some comments coming in here, Joshua. I wanted to touch on this again. And so many players being linked with the club. Rabbi Matondo is the latest one. Welsh.
I like this link. I'm a fan of this one.
Yeah, he's been at Schalke. Apparently, Rangers and Celtic sniffing about. I like this comment from CGM55. He says he sounds like a porn star. It's a great name, you have to say. Do you know anything about Rabbi Matondo?
Not much. No, not much. I remember I signed him on FIFA in about 2016. No, I've watched a tiny bit of him. Probably do a little bit more if there is a little bit more into these links in the next few days. But he's played at a pretty good level. I know when he was coming through at Schalke, he was one of these players that had a lot of attention around him. And if he can play on the right Derek, then he's already kind of a positive in my mind.
Yeah,
I can't do. Ross know that I'm too fond of Amad Diallo to make any comment on the below. I'll have to. I have to wait to the end of the season.
Adam, would you like Amad Diallo to return next season?
Probably not, because I think it just moves the issue further down the line. I did think he got a really hard time from the fans after the Old Firm game and after the Tannadice the Tannadice draw. Probably unfairly. I think people maybe used it as a bit of a lightning rod to criticise, which I hadn't really seen backing up. I thought he'd done okay, and he came in. Obviously, you kind of have to bear in mind when he's coming into games, he's getting goals that are maybe quite late on when defences are tired, etc. But you can't take that away when he comes in. He's been doing well. I thought he did well in the semi-final, the final. Sorry, when he got taken off maybe a little bit early. I think he was probably quite close to getting sent off if he had another couple of challenges. So I think that probably factored into his thinking. But I thought he did well. I thought he was useful. But I think we're looking for more consistent quality, or a player that's maybe ours up there that we can maybe count on. I don't think we can really develop someone. We've got enough players in that position who are maybe squad players, or maybe can come in and do this and come in and do that. I think we're probably looking for someone who can come in and deliver every week up there. So on that basis, no, but I did like him.
Yeah, but just to finish up with this, Joshua, question came in from Rob Call. As I mentioned, they're playing Sunderland Rangers in July. I think it'll be a closer look at Ross Stewart. It'll be interesting to see what team he lines up in. Again, it's just rumour and speculation, of course. He did play for Scotland against Armenia last night. I think I've been on record and saying that I would quite like to see him at Ibrox. We've been talking about a player that can guarantee you upwards of about 20 goals. I think domestically, at least, he could be the man.
Yeah, we touched on this yesterday, didn't we, about the profile of striker that Rangers need. I mean, I doubt that the friendly's been organised for that reason, but I'm sure it wouldn't hurt.
Lots of clubs go out to Portugal at that time. It'll just be coincidental, I'd imagine, more than anything else. Yeah,
but no, it'll be obviously interesting to see Ross Stewart. He came on last night for Scotland. Only watched a bit of that game. Wasn't that entertaining. I thought John Suter looked pretty good. So... yeah, I don't know. I mean, I understand the kind of attraction to a player like Ross Stewart. I do just think that if Morelos is going to be here next season, he'll play 45, 50 games. The priority is that right wing position. And also, depending on what happens with Roof, I think another player that can guarantee goals, because you've not got Nitzen or Defoe there now. That Itten got 6 goals in the 55 season, but it was a few important ones in there, and obviously Defoe that season as well, he got a few. So I think that there's maybe a different profile of player required before that. But I would have no qualms about him coming up here. I think he does have a pretty interesting profile, and you can see him being a player Van Bronckhorst would like, because of his size and his athleticism and ability to do things on his own kind of in the final third.
Adam, Ross Stewart, yea or nay?
I think the reasons Josh outlined, I'm not sure it's a major priority. I know he probably can play a little bit wider, but for me that feels slightly clunkier than I think I see him as a centre forward rather than someone being shifted out there. Also fee wise as well, Derek. I don't know what we're talking about, but $5 million plus, I think, easy. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one. I think if things aligned and we were bringing him in, maybe if Roof was to be sold, I would probably be devastated. But if Roof was to be sold and we could get Ross Stewart in for a couple of million to come in and maybe offer that option, offer some goals in those tight situations, then yeah. But with the money, I would be imagining that Sunderland want, and with obviously what Josh mentioned with Morelos being the main man up there, I'm not sure that one works financially.
Yeah. Okay, that'll do us there, folks. Before we go, though, Adam, it would be remiss of us not to have you on and not talk about your book that's coming out in August. Is that right? Tell us a little bit more.
So, yeah, it's been delayed again, which I'm sure Josh will roll his eyes at. It's been delayed more than anything else. But it's only 2 weeks this time. Only 2 weeks, thankfully. So it's now the middle of August. If Rangers, if Steven Gerrard and Steven Gerrard's coaching staff could stop moving jobs, that would mean I would have to stop editing. That would be lovely. But yeah, it's coming out on 15th of August, I think it is now. It's all done and dusted, and it basically charts the evolution of Gerrard's team from when he joined in 2018 right up until we won the league in 2021. So we've got the kind of philosophy there, introduction to the management team, the coaching staff, how we play when we've got the ball, how we play out of possession. We then do a wee bit of a deep dive into the formation, the origins of the formation, how they set up the team to attack in certain situations, how the team press, all that sort of stuff. And then we get into probably the bit that people will be most interested in, the evolution of the players and the positions. If you remember, we started with Daniel Candeias at right wing and how that evolved throughout the years, the evolution of Morelos, the fullbacks, the flat midfield three, kind of moving to maybe having Joe Rebo coming in there as a hybrid player. All that sort of stuff is included. So I've tried to chart the 3 years but then also the kind of evolution of each player and the management team throughout that 3 years as well. So it'll be out middle of August. Pre-sales have gone very well, so thank you anyone that's listening that has pre-ordered. They've gone very, very well. I'll be closing that in the next couple of weeks, and we'll get all those out as soon as the book is launched.
And the what I'm saying, links in the description as well if you want to pre-order that. And I will just say I've read it. I would recommend it to everyone. Really interesting. Some nice visual aids in there, Adam, isn't there? And I even
like pictures. I like pictures.
Yeah, exactly. So Adam says I can have 1% royalties. Was it we?
I'm not sure that'll be very much. So yeah, you can absolutely have that.
Cammy gets in touch. Adam, signed copies available?
Yes, although I'm very surprised that people are asking for signed copies. I think at this rate, unsigned copies might be worth more, but I'll absolutely sign any that you want. Yeah.
Super stuff. Well, we wish you all the best with that. It's great having you on. Hopefully, we'll get you on again sometime soon. That'll do us there, folks. Thanks to everyone for getting in touch and interacting with the show. It's very much appreciated. Just a reminder, as you can see the ticker below, we've got that great offer on the site. It's free for 30 days, so you can have a wee look about, see if it's for you. Just £2.99 a month. Thereafter, just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. But that'll do us there. We'll be back again tomorrow. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Thursday.